Naturally, it's a sentimental night for me. It occurs to me that I came to the congregation almost half a century ago. And how many of you were here when we built this sanctuary? Wow, that's something. So, kol hakavod. I kept thinking all the week of a story. It's not in the Talmud. A story of, I know the synagogue is about to venture on a very, very important fundraising process, and I know everyone here, the 40-year members and so forth, will participate actively and generously. It's very important. I'll say something about this. This is one of the most important synagogues in North America and in the world. You should know that. It is a model. It has been for many years to many other congregations, and it's very important in that respect. The story I was thinking of was collecting money for a cause. It might have been for a synagogue or community services or education. Knocked on this man's door and introduced themselves, and he said, "I don't know why you're coming here to see me. I'm not Jewish. My mother's not Jewish. My father, Olav Shalom, wasn't Jewish." That stuck, Olav Shalom, the father, and the mothers. But first, I have to thank Rabbi Geffen for her generous, it's more than generosity. For me, Rabbi Geffen is the model of sheer graciousness. And for inviting me to speak, the privilege of speaking here, especially at such an important service. It is an important service because it's a service taking note of, honoring those who have been members here for at least 40 years, on their own hook. You know what I mean by that. So I was trying to figure that out. So on their own hook means they joined when you all joined. Those of you here who have been members for 40 years or more, maybe in your early 20s, mid-20s. So those of you in that group here are somewhere around 65, around that more, it could be older. By the way, 65 in the place, the age 65 in the place I live, the Mather in Glencoe, is like preschool. If you're 65 in the Mather, they're wondering what you're doing there, you know. So I know about being older. But I want you to know it's only a number. It's all in you, how old you really are, and how you live and work, and how you look forward to the future. But I want to say that by some felicitous coincidence, now rabbis are always going to find the right verse in the Torah portion of the week, but this is really a coincidence. In the Torah portion this week is the first time that there is a mention of a great idea, tradition, theme, motif, meme in the Jewish tradition called Zechut Avot, the merit of the fathers. Zechut Imahot, the merit of the mothers. Well, it's a sign of, it's a notion of respect and regard, but also, as I'll say, of responsibility. Now, because in the Torah portion, it is mentioned that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob gave a certain value to the Jewish future. The interesting thing is, we usually say Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, but it's in the reverse order. It says Jacob, got a good name. Jacob, Isaac, and Abraham. And the reason that is said, says a rabbinic comment, is that if it were only Jacob, he would have left enough virtue, value, zechut avot, merit, and I'm going to explain that, in the world to sustain all of Jewish life and the best of human life for the future. But that he's mentioned first to give him credit, but Isaac even left more. And Abraham left more. Zechut avot is like I have to put it, it's like a fund, a legacy fund. Now, we create legacies for our children. When our kids were born, we already started college funds. There was something called 529 or something like that. Because we wanted to assure a good future for them, educationally and beginning their enterprise of life. But Jews are supposed to create a fund for the future of spiritual and moral merit. Leave the children a legacy on which they can build their character, their contribution to the world, their sense of purpose in the world. By the way, that's the best thing you can have in life, is a sense of purpose. But that takes effort. You have to set up an investment. And that is what Zechut Avot means. A fund of merit keeps producing interest. I see the interest everywhere before me tonight in this congregation, in the bar mitzvah, in the naming, in your marriage, and in the wonderful spirituality. By the way, I have to say to you that we say in Judaism that only when prayers don't work, when sermons don't work, when teaching even doesn't work, singing opens the gates of heaven. And we felt something of that. Your song entered our spirits tonight. So we are here to honor people who have been part of the congregation for 40 years. That means you people, even at this age, whether you have families or children or not, all of you, if you're around the age I mentioned, you joined around 20, 30, whatever, you are the avot. You are the fathers. You are the mothers. You are Abraham, Jacob, Isaac. You are Sarah, Rebecca, Leah. You are the ones. You have to build up the legacy of merit for the future generations, that legacy. Now, we have simple ways of doing it. It's not hard. And we mention them all the time. By the way, when we sing Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, we're singing about you. You are already in the category of the fathers and mothers And the easy way of doing it in Judaism, it's not so easy. It takes time. It takes commitment. Spend a lot of time, you should, thinking about your businesses, your social obligations. Spend a lot of time on that. So we have to spend time on this too. What's the time? You know what the answer is. I don't even have to tell you. Study of Torah, Jewish learning, reading Jewish books, Torah, mitzvah, Jewish observance. We gave to the world. I see that you're going to have Marmer coming here speaking on Heschel. He wrote a great book. I think it's Heschel's greatest book, The Sabbath. Read The Sabbath. Read that book. You will get a spiritual uplift. It's a great concept, Shabbat. It's in the Ten Commandments. Observance of the Shabbat, not only Friday night at your tables lighting the candles, do something that's Shabbosdik yourself on Shabbat. I can't ask you to do. My father was a businessman. He should have been, when he got here to this country, gone to graduate school because he was very scholarly, but he had to go to work. He worked his whole life to maintain the family. Brought his whole family over from Europe, all of them. But he kept the Sabbath. I'm going to tell you something very personal. He would read on Sabbath afternoon, and I never, I was a kid, I didn't pay attention what he's reading. I found out he was reading books by the professors of the Oriental Institute of the University of Chicago, some of them in Hebrew. And I only knew that after I grew up, and saw what he was reading. But he kept the Sabbath. He used to read those books, critical reform type of books, critical theories of the Bible, and go to the Orthodox synagogue in the afternoon and drive the rabbi crazy there with his radical ideas. But that was his way of keeping the Sabbath. And so I had the model. There were books in our house. I didn't read them. He knew Russian, Polish. It's my father. And there was Tolstoy. I remember the set of Tolstoy in Russian. He could do all of that. But he had to work and raise a family, but he set aside time for being Jewish. And you have to do that. It's an investment for the future, for you and your children and the future generations. Whatever you do, however you decide to do it. And that's called Zechut Avot, the fund that you will be building up for future generations. You may not think you will be, but you will be. The fund of merit for the Jewish people, the investment fund of the Jewish people for the future. Now, I want to say that I had a little practice and a prayer that I associated with, and I thought of it tonight. I'll conclude with this. I know I'm going over time. But you all sing Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, right? When I was doing that, I always added my parents' names to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, with the prayer that someday my kids singing that same song would add my name too. God bless you all.